Good morning. My name is Chris Fox, and today we're going to cover the Battletech novel reading order. If you're looking to understand the setting, particularly as a game master, or if you just want to have fun reading the books, this is the order I'd recommend. And I don't cover every novel. There's an exhaustive list on Wikipedia if you want to look it up, but these are the ones that are important to understanding the setting that are well written, in my opinion. It starts with the Grey Death Legion trilogy, which is not the best written of them. It's good, and it's a fun read in my opinion, but it's very exposition heavy. But if you want to know the universe, that exposition is useful, and it does tell you about running drop ships and what it's like to be in command of a mercenary company and what you have to do to resupply your mechs, and a lot of that stuff's really cool. But again, there's more exposition than is needed. From there, I tend to jump into the Warrior Trilogy by Michael Stackpole, which kind of put this series on the map. It's very Game of Thrones-like. The characters are pretty fun. You're seeing the various noble houses in the Battletech setting duke it out and kind of understanding how mech combat works, and that while it is important, the war at large is really won by intelligence and subterfuge, and it's pretty well written, like an action thriller with mechs, basically. I really enjoyed it. Again, the Game of Thrones feel is strong in this, and a lot of people have compared it to that. So you read those three books, and you get to know a few characters, and tangentially, you're also exposed to a lot of other characters who at the time may not be terribly important to you. But then you're going to jump into some of the other books. And the next one I tend to jump into after that is called Wolves on the Border, which is about the mercenary unit Wolf Dragoons. They are contracted to a samurai house called House Kurita. And I won't tell you everything that happens in the book, but there are betrayals and stuff goes south for everybody involved, and it has some of the most poignant scenes. And a lot of why events roll out in the next 25 years are because of that book. So Wolves on the Border would be the next one I would read. It's about Wolf Dragoons. And I can't say too much more about it except to say that Wolf Dragoons are an enigma in the Inner Sphere. No one knows where they came from. They just showed up with 5 regiments of shiny, brand new Star League battle mechs. Like, where did they get those? No one knows. Some people have theorized that maybe they were part of General Kerensky's army, which left the Inner Sphere with hundreds of mech regiments centuries ago. Who knows? You will if you read the books, but start with that one. Once you finish that, you're going to jump into Heir to the Dragon, which is amazing in that you get to learn who Theodore Kurita is. He's brilliant, has to fight upstream against his own culture to get them not to be overwhelmed and conquered by their enemies. If you like the Yakuza, if you like samurai, if you like mechs, it's a great book, and I really enjoyed the way it showed Draconis Combine culture and infighting and all that. And it's not all Japanese. I love that part of it is Swedish, that they have different cultures mixed in. It's so clever how they extrapolated forward 1,000 years and said, okay, what would happen to these cultures? And once you finish that book, and it's another great one, it is the Blood of Kerensky trilogy. It's about the clan invasion. So we've had 25 years of the Inner Sphere just clubbing at itself, and they're finally starting to increase their technology because we've recovered a Star League memory core, which has been distributed to the various factions, and they now have a lot of the secrets that have been lost over the century. We now, as the reader knows, the reason those secrets were lost is that the seemingly benevolent order Comstar, think of this very much like Comcast. Imagine if Comcast was your internet provider, and they still are, and centuries have gone by. But now Comcast has become a religious order. And everything that they do, like whenever they send an email, requires them to do like a chant or an incantation. It's very Adeptus Mechanicus if you're familiar with Warhammer 40k. Well, Comstar pretends to be neutral. They've held Terra the entire time. The rest of the planets belong to all the other feudal lords, the 5 factions, the great houses, and they've been neutral the whole time. And all they do is send communications between the stars with their hyperpulse generators, and nobody wants to upset them because that means risking a Comstar edict. Well, Comstar has secretly been sabotaging all of the great houses and trying to prevent them from rediscovering Star League technology. They've been keeping them down and destroying these memory cores. But they finally failed, and enough new tech has gotten out that we've seen an explosion of technology for a full generation. We're finally getting pretty close to being back where the Star League was. Well, right around that time, General Kerensky, his descendants have formed the clans, And they've got fancy new battle mechs. They've created something called Omni-Mechs, and their technology is way better than the Star League. And they come rolling back and just beating the crap out of the Inner Sphere. And what's the Inner Sphere going to do about it? Well, that's what this trilogy is. So you're getting to see who are these clans, where are they coming from, what do they want. And you get both perspectives, the Inner Sphere furiously trying to fight them back, and the clans trying to win. And you sort of root for both sides at the same time. And that's part of why it's such an amazing trilogy. It's just like Game of Thrones in the sense that there's no good guys, there's no bad guys. There's just a great story being told. After this series, this is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of Battletech. And most people will say this. If we talk about books, they'll immediately say Michael Stackpole, and they'll talk about the Blood of Kerensky trilogy as their favorite. I think it probably is mine. But it's not the last of the good books, because up until now, it's been all about the Inner Sphere, and yeah, sure, we get a little glimpse at clan culture, but we don't really know a lot about what makes them tick beyond what our characters from the Inner Sphere saw. Well, then we get a trilogy called The Way of the Clans, and this is amazing. We see that the clans are raised in what are called sibcos, sibling companies, where they genetically engineer a bunch of kids from the same genetic material, and they're all trained to be warriors. And it's hyper brutal. Think Ender's Game. Hyper brutal. Only the best of them are going to survive, and only the best of the best are ever going to become mech warriors. That's why the clan mech warriors are so much more skilled. They have genetic breeding programs and hyper aggressive trainings and a super warlike culture. And we get to follow one of their clan warriors. And I'm not going to tell you a lot about the series, but this is spelled out on the back of the first book. He is highly talented, our main character, Aiden Pride. And you expect him to become a star commander very quickly and rise up through the ranks because we've watched him through his training get stronger and stronger and stronger. But things go awry, and when he has his testing, where you get to decide whether or not you're actually a mech warrior, he fails. I'm not going to tell you how that happens or what happens, but he ends up getting a second chance to be a mech warrior. It's such a great look at clan culture and their biases, and I can't spoil everything for you, but after I read the Kerensky trilogy, I thought there'd never be anything as good, and this one holds its weight. It's just as good as the Blood of Kerensky trilogy. But that kind of brings us to the end. There are a bunch of novels that come after that. They go into what's called the Civil War era, which I don't enjoy as much. It's not a bad era, but it felt rushed at times. Characters that I liked from previous novels no longer behaved quite the way that I thought they should, and what was occurring felt less natural to me and more of a, oh crap, as a company, we wrote ourselves into a corner and now we have to retcon that. By uniting the Inner Sphere against the clans and sort of building everything up, you remove the ability to war and like have your players fight constantly. So they wanted to fragment the Inner Sphere again, and they sort of artificially did the Civil War. And then things get worse from there. There are two additional eras, and these, I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with. There is MechWarrior Dark Age, which I read the first book, and it just didn't hook me. And the idea is that we're now in the future. The Civil War has elapsed, and we are having a new Dark Age. The new Star League rises up very quickly, falls very quickly, and now we're back to pressing the reset button. In much the same way it felt like Disney reset Star Wars with the sequels. That's kind of how it felt to me, where it's like, okay, we need to reset, and this is our excuse for how we're doing it. And because of that, I didn't even look into the final era they've released, which is called the Ilkhan era. People seem to like that one a lot. I know that if you're into technology, that one's cool because it's another century in the future. So they've got some pretty amazing weaponry compared to what I see in the Clan Invasion, which is what I played in high school. But one of the things I love about this is that you can choose your own era. If you get to the end of the novel reading order I've given you and you want to keep going, I'd love to hear in the comments what you think of additional novels. So if you read all of the other stuff and you have already read it and you love it, tell me in the comments what you think. And other people can look at what you say and maybe beyond my own suggested reading order, we'll get more books. Maybe there'll even be a part 2 video. In any case, I am eager to get back to playing Battletech. So the next video you're going to see on this channel is how to play Battletech, and we'll talk about what modes there are and sort of what you might want to play. And then after that, I'll be running my own campaign, and we'll actually get to see it all play out. I'll have some, let's call them after action reports of every session, so you can sort of see how I plan a Battletech adventure and then how it is actually executed and what players like and what they don't. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the writing and gaming, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you got something out of this video and would like to support the channel, I am a science fiction and fantasy author, and there are links to my books in the comments. Just pick something up. It's on Audible too if you like that. Thank you.